The Racing Pod
on Off the Ball
with William Hill. Best odds guaranteed on all Irish and UK racing. 18 plus. See gamblingcare.ie.
Welcome to Off the Ball's first Racing Pod live. Johnny Ward, how are you?
I'm good, JD. I'm good.
You know what? We started this in November. We've had 11 episodes. This is February the 1st. And look at all these people here that have taken time out of their day to come to the Mason Hotel in Dublin for their Off the Ball Racing Pod with William Hill. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, you all got a raffle ticket on the way in? Yeah? Good. What is it? Well, we've got a great prize giveaway thanks to our partners here, William Hill. We'll make a draw at the end of the night, the end of the conversation. The lucky winner will receive a VIP package for two people to the William Hill Champion Chase Day, the 2024 Punchestown Festival. So don't lose your raffle ticket. Johnny Ward, what have you been doing the last 24 hours? You've just got off a boat.
I was in Liverpool, yeah. It's an interesting experience being on a boat, going over to Liverpool games, and it's just like an Irish city. It's honestly like, and even we got tickets in a house beforehand that was set up by, so basically, I don't know if you're familiar with going to a Liverpool game, but you get season tickets, but you have to get that person's phone. So you actually literally have to get a phone and bring that phone to the ground, bring it back, so it's kind of an honor system. And it was just like a house of about 50 people downstairs, just having drinks and talking about Liverpool, because my brother's a big Liverpool fan, so we got him a trip for Christmas and we went over, and I mean, Conor Bradley could be,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, where did this kid come from? And unfortunately, he's not going to play for the Republic.
Which
isn't great, like, it was like...
This is not a soccer show, by the way. This is a horse racing show. It's a racing pod, so, but we all do like other sports as well. When I was watching Peter Sullivan and racing growing up, I always saw 3 o'clock or 3:20 Liverpool, because Liverpool was always where the Grand National, it is, and Aintree. Aintree's a new kind of marketing concept, and that's where it is in Liverpool. But Liverpool is the Grand National, and we all remember when we were a young person watching the Grand National, watching Cheltenham, why we love horse racing, why we're here tonight. I mean, for you, what has got you the buzz? For me, it's like my dad. It's the relationship with my dad. It's the fact that he loved racing. I watched it with him when I was a small person, and following all the great horses and being a sense of Irish pride about being a racing fan. But for you, you've owned horses, so you must like it.
I don't know, yeah. I wouldn't put the two together. Like, no, I was in college in 2000, and I had about 10 hours a week in college. And there was a bookie shop, and it was kind of when the bookie shops were expanding, and I went in there and started to meet people who understood betting. And Sean Flanagan rode a horse that I was involved in. He was the first horse that I was ever involved in. And Sean, how many times did you ride to victory, Sean? 2, once in Galway. So I just, this was a syndicate of lads that I met in the bookies, basically, in Whitehall, because it was, in those days, the betting shop was a hive of activity, and you had all manners of characters, like the car dealer, the pensioners, the students, like, all trying to trade information. And like on the summer evenings, when there'd be the late evenings, people come in after work, and you know, people give out about betting shops, but like I look back very fondly on the people I met there. We all got involved in a horse. Operation Houdini took about 12 runs to even win a race, maybe even more. He kept finishing second. He ended up then finishing second in a Troy Town, and he was second in a Cork National, having been thrown out, and we got some crack out of it. But unfortunately for me, my first experience of ownership was good, because forget about it after that, because that was like, it's not good, my Nard.
Forget about ownership. Yeah, that's the first rule of the Racing Pod live. That's the first thing we've learned tonight.
It's amazing when it goes well. Like, it's when you have, I think we need more syndicates. We need
a Florian Porter. Gavin Cromwell's here tonight, so we're going to get the whole inside story into the Florian Porter.
Yeah, like, he was bought for 10 grand off a Facebook ad. Like, but like there are so many race meetings now that many of the meetings there aren't that many people there, and you know, a lot of the time the trainer doesn't go because he or she doesn't have the time either. We need more syndicates and more life, because I do feel the buzz of owning a horse with your mates, and like, we owned the horse before WhatsApp. You know, so it was all like individual messages, and now WhatsApp makes it so easy to disseminate information on that.
Your favourite, most memorable days as a racing person?
Like, the horse that I was involved in, Operation Houdini, winning in Galway, was just incredible. Won twice in Galway. Sean rode him one of the days. Seen my own colours to victory. You know, even on the box was amazing. I've never actually.
Did you pick the colours?
I did, yeah. Kind of
colours?
Green, white, and black.
Right.
And to be honest, like,
to kind of your mood of a day. Yeah.
The day that the Pat Smullen fundraiser in the Curragh as well, there was something really special about that because, like, you know, we slag racing and all of that, and you know, racing people can be very wrapped up in the sport, but that day was special. And also just thinking back as well, like when I get into racing and the days of Hardy Eustace, Brave Inca, Archibald, like those races, when you were actually experiencing them were special.
I didn't tell you this, right? But my favourite race I think I've ever been at Cheltenham was in 2005, and here's a recap of that amazing day.
As they jump the second last hill, Hardy Eustace from Brave Inca now laying down the big challenge on the outside as they round the final turn. Archibald under a very confident, quiet ride in third place.
This has probably been my favourite race, really. I mean, if you're talking of favourite races, Zertiup's Moscow Fires, Tingle Creek. This is probably my favourite ever race, actually. And my mate was saying to me at the time, Carberry's not going to win. I'm telling you, he's not going to win. He's not going to win. He won't find Anthony. He won't find Anthony.
Now, we want honesty in this audience. Anybody back Archibald in that race? Yes, honesty. We've honesty here at the Racing Pod live.
Anyone back Hardy? Anyone back Brave?
Ringmaster Mick McCarthy backed Hardy.
Yeah, I think it was the problem with Paul Carberry that day was the horse jumped. I think it was the second last too well because he, like, when he actually got after him, he found nothing.
The horse was a headbanger. I'm sorry.
But famously then at Punchestown, Noel Meade kind of said, like, ride him differently at Punchestown, and Paul Carberry more or less said, I'm never going to listen to anyone telling me how to ride a horse again, because he found even less at Punchestown. That's just the way he was. But it's frustrating for Noel Meade to obviously see.
Yeah, for me, I suppose memorable days. I remember tipping Aurora's Encore to win the Grand National at 80-1 on Today FM, and I did my brains on the Friday. So on the Saturday morning, it was 100-1, and I didn't bother, and it won. And I had all these people on Twitter telling me I was a great fella for the first time, and I'm actually stone cold shock in McDade's pub, speaking to my girlfriend at the time, going, yeah.
Any story that involves girlfriend at the time is always a good one.
Well, yeah.
It's either followed by, she's my wife now, or we broke up shortly after.
Yeah, you told a story in the Racing Pod actually 2 weeks ago, if anyone's listening, about when you went down to Gordon Park with Hyestes, took the wrong turn, and then missed the race itself, you know. So one listener, we've already got one listener already, you know, so thank you. We've loyalty. We're only 11 episodes in. Another story I do remember is memorable. My cousin had a horse, and they went for a gamble 18 years ago, and I was boasting to him that I've got about 10 accounts. So he sent me about 2,000 to 3,000 euro and said, okay, well, you're the banker here, you get the money on. 12 o'clock, it was 12-1. I put up every account and started like backing it, and within probably about 3 or 4 minutes, my credit card was declined. So then he rang me up in a very angry way and said, "What the hell's going on here?" You know. So sometimes things can go wrong, and the horse did win on the line.
I was Gavin Cromwell. I've had some like good luck with Gavin, some like modest luck because the horses are no good or whatever. But I got a horse out of a claimer and sent it to Gavin Cromwell. First run in my colours. I've always wanted to have a winner in Galway, right? Now he was running in Wolverhampton, but at least it was during Galway anyway. So I was always wanted to have a winner. So I was in the cab, right, but got in the cab. So Brass was running that evening in, I think Robert Winston was riding him, and so I'd be texting Gavin, and Gavin hadn't really said anything. Like, he was like, wouldn't be mad in the price here. He's short. He's a moderate enough horse. Like, got into the cab, and he's like, "You're going racing, are you?" I was like, "I am." He goes, "I got word for one." I was like, "Oh yeah, Galway, obviously." You got word for one in Wolverhampton. It's a Brass. I was like, "I own the fucking horse. I didn't get any word for it." And I went into the Ladbrokes tent, right, in Galway, and he got up on the line. And it felt like the whole room, because he was an Irish horse and Wolverhampton was on him. And just like you with Aurora's Encore, I had no money on it.
Johnny. Did you tell people though after the race?
I was like, yeah.
Just go around, probably getting some drinks bought for you and everything.
If Gavin remembers, he'd have doubled that night. What was his other horse in Wolverhampton?
Like, he's going to come on the stage in a few minutes' time.
This is so many, he can't even remember. But like, it was the magic of the Galway races that like you get a tip for everything, even though you own the horse yourself.
Yeah. Would you have a favourite horse, or the horse you think is the best horse you've ever seen on the jumps to the flat?
I passed Chester Racecourse on the train today. I haven't been to Chester. I've been to York, and I saw Frankel. I saw See the Stars and Frankel, so it'd be a toss-up between them. But I'd probably say Frankel had potentially more ability in the sense of what he did on his very good days. But Mick Canaan would argue that See the Stars would have beaten him.
Yeah, Johnny Mercer would say See the Stars. would be his choice because they threw everything at See the Stars at Ballydoyle and they couldn't beat him. And also, one thing I think is really important about See the Stars is that he was a versatile horse. He won over a mile the Guineas. He won the Epsom Derby 1.5 miles. You know how tricky Epsom
Imagine
is.
if Nicky Henderson trained him, he'd run a couple of times a year, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a flat horse with everything to lose, and he ran
Yeah.
on, six
Champion
Group
Stakes.
1s, different
And
trips.
then won the Arc, the way he won the Arc. And for me, I'd love to see the Stars. Jumpers, I was actually thinking about this today. Jumpers are difficult. I can't really think, Arkle. Oh, we all know, but nobody's seen Arkle, right? Maybe there's some people here have that might be lucky enough to have seen him. But I was kind of thinking, it's harder to pick a best jumps horse. Best Mate would come to mind. Denman would come to mind. For me, a jumps horse has to jump well. That's why I don't like Cauto Star, for example. Cauto Star made too many mistakes in his races. At Constitution Hill, they're scared. They won't put him over a fence. I'm thinking to myself, I want to see jumpers jump fences. It's an art. I actually love seeing a great horse jump a great fence.
So, Constitution Hill should be jumping fences.
Yeah.
Like 100%. But I think there's a lot of bottling going on with this horse, like where it's like they don't think they've any responsibility to the public because they think if he jumps fences, he has to be a Gold Cup horse. He doesn't. He could be a champion chaser this season, and he'd be an amazing jumper of a fence. But he should be in Leopardstown. Like they're giving away 110 grand, but just by not showing up to Leopardstown, he's had one like canter to go to Cheltenham. And imagine if he came to Leopardstown. I think owners that have the money should campaign their horses if they're lucky enough a lot more aggressively because I'm not getting any fun out of Constitution Hill, to be honest.
Okay, and he's not getting any fun out of you. Now, Off the Balls Racing Pod Live is thanks to William Hill, best odds guaranteed on all UK and Ireland racing. We talked about the competition. We're going to have an interval, as I said, about 8:15. You can have about 15 minutes to have a drink or go to the bathroom, and then we'll have the preview of the Dublin Race Festival because there's 8 Grade 1s this weekend. There's so many great races to look forward to. But now, this is the really good point. The Off the Ball Racing Pod Live will get the insight and the crack from 3 of the William Hill ambassadors that we have here this evening. The stars of the show, apart from you, Gavin Cromwell, Sean Flanagan, JJ Slevin. You're very welcome, folks. All good? Gavin, all good?
All good, John, yeah. Great to be here.
All the jackets?
Uniform.
Yeah. Sean, you're in the good books of Gavin. You sit beside him because you rode 2 winners from last weekend.
I'll sit beside him now, maybe not after the weekend, but to make the most of it when we are. A big well done to JJ for getting here, late as usual.
Better late than never.
You did a tricky run up, did you?
Yeah, got stuck on the motorway. Got in the car 20 to 4 and just arrived there when I came in. So yeah, it was a long way up, but we got here eventually anyway.
So were you riding out today?
Yeah, started off in Martin Brazel's and then went up to Lorna Fowler to sit on a few and then back down to Joseph to do stalls, put 2 rows through stalls and then up here. So we're busy.
Did you fly up here, Sean, today, no?
No, I was in the Curragh and then Wexford and then back up as well.
So you fly planes. How did that come about?
Years ago, it was just as you said about a girlfriend at the time bought me a voucher of.
Did you get married?
No, voucher of a flying lesson, and I just done the one like back then and loved it, and it was always in the back of my head, and then. Fast forward a couple of years, I was riding away, and a friend of mine was sponsored me, and his son was learning to fly, and they had a little plane, so it just opened the door for me to learn how to fly. So I got a bit of it done, and I love it.
What was the lesson like? Like were you like, jeez, this is.
Sure, I got in, and the instructor was like flicking all these switches, and I'm there. I'll never be able to do this, and just slowly pick it up. But like it's when you start, it's pretty much like he takes off, and then he's like, right, grab a hold of it there and go at it, like, and you can pick it up quick enough, like.
Is it a thrill? Is it some kind of comparable thrill to riding a horse?
Yeah, it probably is. I suppose when you're up flying, no one can deny it. Like you can just tip away and do your own thing, you know. It's a lot, and it's very handy to get around. Very handy.
So you fly to Cheltenham?
Yeah. I rode in the Albert Bartlett this year, which is the second race. Watched the Gold Cup in the airport, and I was home for the last. Handy, like.
And do you need airspace? Like, do you have to say, right, I'm in there at this time, or is it just like?
There's a bit to it that way. You file a flight plan, and you have to do government GARs, they call them, so that you put your stuff, your passport details and all that crack in. But it's literally, you say you want to go at 10 o'clock, and you have a half an hour window either side to go, and you call wherever you're going to let them know you're coming, and just get on the radio, and away you go. and they might direct you around a small little bit, like airspace along the way, but it's generally fairly good.
That's mad.
Have you given JJ a spin?
I don't think JJ.
Oh, yeah, we've tried to arrange a few, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's never-
Oh. Got Gavin up a couple of times, when?
Have you?
Brought me for a spin to sales over in Wales, and just about thawed out by now. He did not. He didn't know how to work the heat. We were flying over snow-capped mountains and
Lovely view.
absolutely bought. I don't think it was ever as cold in my life. He then discovered that he was actually turning it down instead of up.
It was lever was labelled wrong. It was like pull for heat, push for cold. So I was like pulling it for the heat, but like it was meant to be the other way around. So it was literally minus 20 air blowing in on our feet. Like it was fairly cold now.
The lads are different as well because they've like a lot of they've interests outside. Because JJ has a bit of a journalism.
It was really journalism graduate, JJ.
Yeah.
Where'd you do that?
Griffith College, so...
Were you riding at the time, or?
Yeah, riding as an amateur, so yeah, look at it.
Did you see his interview with Patrick Mullins today in the racing boat?
I read it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of poachers turn gamekeepers. Patrick is good.
Patrick is very good, and I don't plan on following him in his footsteps anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, it was a good piece as well because I was just thinking of this today, JD. There's not that much racing journalism anymore. It's just it's a dying breed. Like most newspapers don't have a racing journalist now. So like what Patrick did was quite different. It was inside the weighing room, and he was describing how like other jockeys were coming along. Like, what was it like to do a piece like that where you're basically like?
Yeah, sure. It was a bit of crack. It was just literally like a normal conversation, like we'd have any day of the week. That's the stuff we'd be talking about, and yeah, it's nice that people watching in can read something like that.
What were you curious about when you studied journalism? Was it just getting to behind the scenes of stories, that kind of thing, or?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I always wanted to ride horses, but I wanted to have a backup plan because it's very hard to make a living now riding horses. So English and history were my strengths in school, so I just said journalism, and literally I wrote about nothing other than horses and interviewed people at horses, and the people in the college asked me could I do that and could I write about something else. I was like, no. So it was just all racing really.
So, as journalists, we're always interested to know what's going on behind the scenes. And I suppose I've never sat on a horse, much to my shame. Don't think it'd probably buckle under me. But managing injuries, managing your weight, managing fear, are there things we don't see, JJ, as people on the ditch? About like a day-to-day life of a jockey?
Well, not really. I suppose the big thing for me is like you hear lads, especially in England, it's probably a big thing. Is the grind. It's the day-to-day work. It is probably tough work. It's tiring, like long days, early starts. In the summer, it's late nights. So that's probably the big thing for me. But it's a very enjoyable thing to do. It's great fun. Like getting up there, riding out is a great sport, and going racing as well. And like the weigh room is a great place. It's a great atmosphere. I suppose I kind of compare it to being like in between races is almost like break time at school because we've loads of fun in there and there's plenty of sports. So. And then we take the racing obviously very seriously, so it's it's good fun now.
And a great thrill. So when you're riding fast or slow, that race, for example, at Punchestown last year, what was the buzz like when you realised you've overtaken Galopin Des Champs in Brave Man's Game? You're going to win a huge Grade 1.
Yeah, sure. Probably, I suppose disbelief for a bit. Like really, it's hard to imagine that you'd beat those sort of horses at that time. But yeah, great thrill, and then they're the races that you always dreamed about winning and riding in, and hopefully that you might win someday. So it was a great kick,
It was interesting. Patrick was talking about your style, like on a horse today, and like I thought that's something Ruby has given a good insight into on the telly, where he's on about particular styles. Like, do you think there's a market there for explanation of what jockeys are doing and different styles? Because I don't have the eye to see that, and I don't think others do either. Like,
yeah, well, Ruby, I've listened to him quite a bit, and I've never heard anyone give the sort of insight into racing that he's able to give. It's unbelievable. The way he thinks, the things he thinks of is unbelievable. Like, so yeah, sure. I suppose styles is something that, well, as a jockey, you're watching all your life. So you've watched lads that you like riding, and you try and take little bits and pieces from people and try and perfect your own style. Really,
Would you be able, Sean, to pick out a jockey in a race like that's? I know who that is. I know who that is. I know who that is.
Generally, yeah. From watching it, you would, yeah, and. Yeah, like I suppose the whole idea of having more people analysing racing whilst it is obviously probably good, but then it falls into the interpretation of the analyzer as well, where JJ might analyse the race in one way, I might analyse it in a different way. So that leaves that open to question a little bit too, you know.
Why do you pick a jockey, Gavin, or what do you want in a jockey?
Sure, listen, it depends on lots of different reasons, really, Johnny. You're looking for someone, I suppose the definition of a good jockey is a lad who makes the least amount of mistakes. And then if you can get the fella who wins on a horse that shouldn't have won. That's my interpretation of a top rider.
When you went in, say Sean and JJ, you've got Ruby, Barry Geraghty, all these legends. Is it intimidating? Were they welcoming, or is it? Are they teammates or are they opponents? How does that kind of balance?
I suppose for the first day or so, it's a little bit intimidating. But then, if you're relatively successful, you're there with them every day, so they just become almost like one of the lads. I remember being a 7-pound claimer, riding in Punchestown, and I'd obviously become comfortable, I suppose, with the lads that are in the Wareham in Ireland. And Mackay comes over to ride, and I just thought, like, jeez, this Mackay, like, you know, wow. I was only 17 or 18 at the time, and I'd ridden a couple of winners on a horse called Holly Tree for Eamon Sheehy, and Mackay was riding him, and he comes over and asks me, what about this lad? And I'm kind of looking around thinking, is this lad talking to me? Like, you know. And yeah, but that's the level of a rider he was. He'd ask it, you know, like I didn't even know how he knew who I was, like, but yeah, he must have asked someone else. I'd say he definitely didn't know, but anyway. Yeah.
And do the injuries is something that you just have to deal with, part of the game, and how do you kind of cope with it psychologically almost as much as physically? Yeah,
you literally hit the ground and you're kind of counting back the days, right? If I've broke X, Y, or Z, how far down the road am I going to be? Like, I remember being on the ground in Tramore, broke my leg, and first thing popped into my head, I was like, I'm going to miss the Kerry National. And I did, and it bloody won as well, Snow Falcon, yeah. So
it's kind of an obsession almost.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And I think the day you hit the ground and you're like, oh, happy days, or a bit of time off, you'll forget about it.
Would you have thought Jack Kennedy's, like, his list of injuries was just so completely mad for his age? How is he going to ever recover from this? And he is.
It's an awful lot. I don't want to say it's easier, because
it's easier when you're younger, like.
No, I don't want to say it's easier because it's obviously difficult to come back from an injury. But if you have 150 horses to come back to, it makes life a little bit easier. Whereas if you have no horses to come back to, and you know that Joe Blogg has a horse that I've won 2 on, and he's my ride, and then I see JJ riding him when I'm out, and he gets on well with him. Am I going to get back on him now when I get back on? Or so that's what makes life a little bit more difficult.
What's Jack like, JJ, as a fella?
Yeah, great fella. I actually sit beside him quite a bit, and Sean doesn't sit 100 mile away from us now since he's taken over the valeting. Yeah, he's a man of few words, but he's just a natural horseman and makes things very easy and keeps things simple before a race. But he's a very good fella, yeah.
We had Danny kind of got a spare on Florian Porter, didn't he, the first time you won at Cheltenham during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was Jonathan Moore was meant to ride him, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Danny gets a spin, and the rest is history.
Yeah, honest to God. Look, Danny was always been known as a very good rider from the front, and it was Jonathan Moore actually suggested to use him, and he got on great with him, and yeah, won 2 stayers hurdles. So
the first year's COVID. The second year, you've got mad fellas from Galway, and James Scahill from our hurling pod's one of them. How did the 2 years compare for you, as in terms of actually what you did each evening?
Well, listen, the COVID was fantastic to win a stairs hurdle, but the celebrations consisted of sitting on a bed replying to texts. We literally weren't allowed. We were all isolated in a hotel, and we weren't allowed to leave our rooms. So that was the height of the celebrations. Roll on 12 months, and it was pure madness. That was brilliant, fantastic. For the syndicate, and the lads. There's only 4 people involved in the horse, but they, you would honestly think that there was 44 people involved, because they made everybody, all of their friends, feel like they owned the horse, and sure, I think everybody's seen the celebrations.
That's the thing about
Yeah.
syndicates as well. Like, it's that I think, like, even if you had a program for syndicates where it's basically like, because if there are 10 people and they're telling 10 people, like, it's spreading the word of racing. I know syndicates can be tricky to deal with, but
Yeah, they are. Well, I've lots and lots of syndicates, and listen, we try to use one point of contact. It doesn't always work like that, but we try it anyway. And like everything, when it's going well, it's great. When if a horse is not performing and it's going on for a little while, they can fall apart.
how do you mean fall apart?
Yeah, I suppose from their point of view, they're trying to.
You go from being called Gavin to Cromwell.
No, it's not that.
Oliver
that's
Cromwell.
not so much.
No,
yeah,
that
maybe so.
Cromwell
Maybe,
fella.
maybe so.
To hell or to Galway.
It's
Yeah.
funny though when you're in a syndicate and there's so much enthusiasm, and then like the trainer might be half kind of waffling with you, or the horse just starts regressing. I'm genuinely not talking about you here, but the atmosphere changes.
Yeah, and then of course, if you, as I said, if the horse is not performing, and then you'd find that the syndicate starts coming under pressure because Tom, Dick, and Harry are not paying their few quid, and there's the rest of the lads are trying to carry them, and then it gets messy. But they, in general, they're good.
It's an expensive game, like
Yeah, so you keep saying.
But it is. It's like your average bill is 1,700-1,800 a month. And then the amount of injuries is what shocks me. There's so many little problems along
Yeah.
the way. Maybe that's why, like, you're gone 40% flat, is it now as well?
Probably something like that. Yeah.
And that, like, it's just kind of more straightforward in that regard in terms of injuries, I would have thought anyway.
Yeah, I suppose there is less injuries, but nevertheless, it's not simple either.
Well, I was thinking of this today as well, right? The 4 horse in Down Royal in the big race all came from point to points, we'll say, and that's if there were no point to points at all. What would that? If just say point to points were gotten rid of in the morning, how would that change national hunt racing?
I suppose we'd probably be back to buying them as 3-year-olds ourselves, and that's before the point to points. That's the way it was. It's not since the foot and mouth that the point to point season. Before foot and mouth, the season only started in January, but since then it's become a real business to sell the horses. Where before that, point to pointers were, the most common point to pointer running was 6-year-old and up maidens, the older horses. But now it's big business. It's all about the young horses.
We're going to play some tapes here of the best moments of Gavin Cromwell, Sean Flanagan, and JJ Slevin. So let's start off with Gavin and the day you trained the winner of the champion hurdle at Cheltenham, Espoir Dallin.
Espoir Dallin and Mark Walsh have sauntered into the lead in the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Now he says go, and he's on by 3 lengths. Second position for Mellon.
I actually
and then
interviewed
with
Gavin
Mellon
about this horse. Was
is
it last
Marina,
week?
still
What did he win by,
standing on
Gavin?
the silver
15
streak,
or
but
19
Espoir
maybe?
Dallin heads
15,
down towards
yeah.
the
It's
last flight
the
now
longest,
with a 5 or
biggest margin
6
winner of
length
the champion
advantage.
He was a 5-year-old who was beaten once over hurdles when he was wrong, and it was kind of funny because you have to forget how good this horse was when you just move on, like. But
and the colours of JP McManus for Mark Walsh, who are the Unibet Champion Hurdle winners.
Before we came in, John asked me, was I surprised on the day? And I was. Like he went there as a 5-year-old. It looked a very good champion hurdle on paper. You have Bouvier, who was the reigning champion. You had Lorena, who was very fancy from Willie Mullins. And you had Apple's Jade. And Bouvier fell. And Lorena and Apple's Jade underperformed. So I thought we were going there with a place chance, and he ended up being a 15-length winner. So yes, I was surprised, but I'll certainly take it and I'll keep it.
Do you get an approach from the likes of JB McManus to see the photo there of yourself and him and Mark Walsh to train a horse for you? Does it work that way?
Well, the association started with Jar's Girl, who was my first Grade 1 winner. I actually told a story about it recently where we took her away to work on the Tuesday of the Easter week. So she was entered in a Grade 1 in Ferryhouse on the Sunday, and I took her to work, and she didn't work very well. And it was a forfeit stage on that day, closed at 12 o'clock, and I said, there's no point in leaving her in this. So I took her out. I was on my phone, took her out. And she was also in a Grade 2 on the following day. And I decided that, how can I tell the owners that this horse didn't work well enough to run in a grade 1, but yet I will run in a grade 2. So I said, well, I'll put her back in. I'll put her back in. I went to put her back in. I just got her in before it closed. And I got a phone call on the Wednesday night, and JP bought her. And she won the grade 1 on the Sunday.
Wow.
And then 2 months later, he sent me as per that. So just, you know, the way things can happen.
You say
a
how
little
much
bit
it
of luck.
was? You say much? You can't say much.
Yeah.
No, you can't say.
But yeah, listen, that was my first grade 1 winner. She went on and she won another grade 1 in Punchestown.
You need the big owner, like, realistically, don't you? I mean, I suppose the case of Florence Porter is just complete luck that you.
Yeah, well, like Jer's girl was luck as well. She was sent to me. She went to a sale, was brought home, couldn't get $7,000. She won 2 grade 1s. So
Just shows how random in a way, in a good way, the game can be.
it can be, of course, yeah.
With
yeah.
Jar's girl story and Jamie
Yeah.
McManus. General principle, we're going to play the video of you winning the Irish Grand National now, JJ. It looked like about 20 miles, but it was 3.5.
Bill's Hill and David Mullins are pushed on the near side. There's not much between them. They're very tired. Bill's Hill lands in front. Isle of Hope and Dreams is finishing well on the far side for Denny Mullins. In between them is General Principle. They're running up towards the finish. And it's Isle of Hope and Dreams and General Principle. It's gone to the judge. It's a very close for the finish for Liverpool, Bill's Hill, and Folsom Blue is a close-up 5th. Wait for the judge.
Looks exhausting to watch it.
Yeah, it was a hard work that day. It's very soft ground. It was actually a grand race to ride in, really. When the ground gets nice and soft like that, it makes our job a good bit easier, to be fair. And
Is it physically tougher on you, like in softer ground?
not really.
No?
Because, no, not really, because, you know, most of the time, lads that are riding the whole time, we're all pretty fit, like, once
Yeah.
you're riding a lot. And, you know, if you ask 90% of the lads in the weight room, they tell you they'd rather ride in soft ground than hard ground. You know, it makes things a bit slower and you can bide your time a bit longer, you know.
Did you think you had it won when you crossed the line, or did you know?
I thought I did, but you can never allow yourself to think you did either at the same
Yeah.
time. You know, I thought my head was down, and most tight finishes you'd usually know, but I wouldn't allow myself to think I'd won just in case I didn't, you know.
How did you land the ride that day, actually, Mr. Friend?
Pure luck, really. Joseph had a horse in it called Arkrist, and he wasn't a great jumper, and yeah, he couldn't jump, and there weren't too many lads holding their hands up to ride him, and I'd won a beginner's chase on him, so I was meant to ride him, and then Rachel Blackmore became available, so Eddie decided he wanted her to ride him, and then he kind of didn't want me, and all of a sudden Gordon had no one to ride. I think he was Gordon's 5th runner. He'd no one to ride him. He'd 10 stone, so they just stuck me down on him.
So did you talk to Eddie afterwards?
Yeah, Eddie. Sure, I didn't say a whole lot now.
Did Michael say much? Did he? Michael O'Leary?
I don't think Michael was there.
Okay.
No, so look, sure, it's an Irish Grand National. It's a big race now.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I think that was the year before the race. Did all, like, doctors and all come in and give a bit of a speech about what's going to happen, and I'm pretty sure that was the year I rode Snow Falcon to go up down away from the stands, and Adrian McGoldrick was the chief medical officer, and he came in and he said, if you're okay, wave on the ambulance, there'll be a minibus. And I clearly started laughing. I was like, what do you think, we're going to war, like, or, you know? So we jump off in the corner on a full lap back to the first fence away from the stands, and Brian Hayes fell and brought me down, and I waved on the ambulance, and myself and Hayes walked over to get into minibus, and it was full. No space. We had to walk back. So yeah.
Full of just normal punters.
Yeah. Full of other lads after getting falls. Yeah, it was full. We had to walk back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to pick another highlight for you, Sean. The Leopardstown Chase at Christmas a few years ago, a Road to Respect.
They're coming down to the final fence in the Leopardstown Chase, and Balka de Flo now from Outlander on the far side. In the centre is Road to Respect. 3 Jigginstown at the last. Balka de Flo now from Road to Respect and Outlander on the inside. These 3 having a great battle. In the lead now is Road to Respect from Balka de Flo, who's coming back on the near side. Outlander is 3rd and running up to the finish. Road to Respect, and Sean Flanagan is going to be a 1-2-3 for Jigginstown. Wins it for Noel Meade.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was great. Oh, jeez, he was a fair horse. You don't go to a Grade 1, especially there, like Christmas time, thinking that I genuinely think this horse will win, and I did. He'd ran in the Jane Wine, which is now the Tote or the Labrook in Down Royal, and he was a bit gassy and keen, and we stuck a hood on him that day, and he was working really well. I just thought he'd win. He ended up being 173 rated. He won.
Did you talk to the O'Learys afterwards?
I wrote plenty for the O'Learys. Yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted me for a while. Not anymore. But
Okay.
What's actually happened with them? Because like they were supposed to be gone a few years ago. Michael was kind of winding down, and now you see he's a juvenile hurdler. We'll talk about. He's
Predators Gold.
Predators Gold. He's like, just got the buzz back, or
must have had, yeah. Probably mainly cleared up a lot of the horses that they didn't want, I suppose. And they're back anyway.
What do you think of Jiggins off the game, Gavin? Because you've never had a horse, have you?
No, I haven't.
Horses are run really honestly.
Yeah.
They campaigned honestly. You see 3 horses there fighting out to finish, obviously. But obviously, I suppose, wouldn't be for everyone either.
Maybe not, but listen, I certainly wouldn't be turning them away if they came a knocking. Listen, I think they're good for the game. I know some of it's probably not the numbers that they had before, but they used to have so many runners in those big field, big handicaps. I would be a fan.
Where's the feeling among trainers now about the domination of the small number? I remember talking to Liz Doyle actually, who Sean had obviously ride for a lot, and she was saying we have to improve. It's not, the standard is there. We have to improve to match it.
That's just it, I suppose. It's tough. There's no doubt about that, but the standards are very high. And
Mouse Morris said to me the other day, I wouldn't want to be starting now.
No, but I don't. Maybe he reckons that it is different or it was different back then. But
No, he's doing it 40 years.
Yeah. I suppose the big are very big now in comparison to. I remember a few years ago, local. I'm training in County Meath, and I remember Noel Mead having like 120 horses, and I thought, how does one man have 120 horses? Well, I have 120 horses now, and I'm not. There's way bigger than me. But that's just the way it's gone. I think everything in life has gone like that. The big have just got bigger. It is certainly tough for the smaller trainers. There's no doubt.
120 horses. You've had 51 winners in Ireland this season and 9 in the UK. So I suppose as the years have gone on, what have you learned about being a trainer that you've got better at?
Listen, every day is a school day.
Yeah,
for sure. And trying to improve the facilities all the time. Now, listen, when I say 120, we've a good few flat as well. So
yeah.
And we're very much at a double up time of the year now, because we've all the flat ones and the summer horses in now as well. So we've basically in the spring and in the autumn, you've got both. So our quiet periods are actually in the middle of the winter and the middle of the summer. Listen, I don't know. Every day is a school day, and I suppose we're probably lucky to have Willie Mullins and Aidan O'Brien training in this country, and amongst more very good trainers, and all you can do is try and learn off them.
Gavin bought a patch of land beside as well. So if you just talk about that as well, because you I think it was an old-fashioned situation that he didn't want to sell. It was his land, but you really wanted in terms of just the expansion for your flat horse particularly.
Yeah, that's just it, Johnny. So unfortunately, if I wanted to grow, I had to put the investment in, and thankfully we're well on the way in putting a new gallop in. So that's our third gallop. Just trying to improve all the time.
Are you Joseph's cousin, is it?
Yeah.
So you ride for Joseph, you rode Banbridge there, you went over to Kempton, and you've had a great association with him. It's gone really well.
Yeah, sure, I've been lucky. I've been with Joseph since he started training, really. So yeah, he's been good to me.
Yeah. And do you enjoy the race day more so, or do you feel when you're riding out during the week that you're say on riding fast or slow? Or do you would you ride fast or slow or Banbridge during the week, or is it only in the race course you turn up and ride these horses?
I'm in Martin's twice a week, so I'd sit up on fast or slow twice a week, all right. But I wouldn't ride Banbridge very much. Maybe when he works or schools only. Barry Canary rides him at home. He was a good jockey in England. He rode over 700 winners in England. So Banbridge, he's actually a little bit tricky at home. He's a Dian. He's a bit of a messer, and Barry gets on well with him, knows him well. So I leave it to him, really, you know.
Yeah.
It is cool that you've landed on these like Fast or Slow, and like even Mouse having Gentleman's Game, that there are, like Martin is a fella who I've always found him fascinating because he says very little, always his strike rate's very, very good. What's he like to work with?
Yeah, sure, he's a brilliant horseman, really. He knows the game inside out. He's been around a long, long time. Like, he came to the Curragh in 1977 to work for Mick O'Toole, and like he worked as a head man there, and he came up and learned a lot along the way. And when you go in there, you'd learn a lot just watching him. He's very hands-on. He's 25 horses, so he knows each horse inside out, and he likes that numbers, gets on top of things that way, and yeah, he's a very good horseman.
Can that be better than having 200 in the sense that you have to delegate, if that makes sense?
Yeah, but I suppose if you have bigger numbers, you're going to have to delegate. I suppose where Martin likes to keep control of everything, he can keep an eye on everything with the number of horses he has, you know.
That had to change for you, because you used to be kind of the farrier with the horses, but then it started to...
Yeah, I was a farrier that trained a few horses as a hobby. I suppose I was probably lucky enough in the fact that I had my income was from the farrier business, and I didn't take a wage out of the training of the horses for a number of years, really. Probably not until I had completely given up the shoeing. And I was lucky enough that all the money that came from the training, I invested straight back in. So I suppose that helped to fast track the development of the place. You know, which is, I suppose, in comparison to somebody who's totally reliant on it. I suppose that end was good.
What'd you do with Sean training?
No.
Why not?
There's a lot of reasons, I suppose. A lot of successful-ish riders start trying to train too late. If you have a successful enough riding career, you're starting to try training too late.
How do you mean?
Well, if you're busy riding, you're not going to be starting training until you're 35 or 40.
That's too late.
Well, it's too late if you haven't got something kind of ready to go. Like, riding takes up all your time.
I find that a lot of the more successful jockeys don't tend to make good trainers.
Why?
They don't know anything about it.
I didn't want to say it,
but they actually don't. Like, they're used to arriving into a yard and being legged up on a horse and riding it. But the actual running of a yard, they don't know anything about. You know, and it's not their fault. It's just that's the way they've spent their 20 years in the industry getting leg up on the horse.
So on that, Paul Carberry, who we spoke about on the pod a couple of weeks ago, probably the most natural horseman we've ever seen, now rides out for you. So what he does is almost what you're saying is completely different to what you do.
Absolutely, yeah. That's where the likes of your Gordon Elliott was an amateur. This more the grassroots level. They're the lads that make the better trainers.
Well, you also have to deal with a lot of like owners and that as well. That would probably just fry your brain a bit at times, I suppose. Yeah,
well, listen, I suppose you have to have some kind of a business brain as well. I mean, ultimately, it is a business too. How much pressure are you under when you've told an owner this horse should win and he's backing it or she's backing it? Does that bother you at all? A lot, yeah. It does. The most relaxed I ever am is if I own the horse myself. No problem. I've no problem with that not working. But I do put myself under pressure when somebody else owns the horse and I feel the pressure. Do you get better with that then, or? You do, I suppose. Yeah. Listen, you have to. With so many runners now, you kind of get used to it, or I won't say immune to it, but.
We did the show of hands earlier for Archibald. Any owners in the audience? Any owners? Aspiring owners. Okay. Wow, this is a pretty clever audience. Yeah. So do you have to think about the future, Sean? I mean, right? Like, it's not a bit like a football. I see bookmakers here, but talk about that later.
Yeah, I struggle a bit at times with riders that go through their career and they're sailing through their career and then they retire and they've nothing to do with it. I could never understand why you would do that. You're not going to ride forever. Sometimes they're just happy to go riding out, and that's fine, it's great. But it's a little bit why I was doing the flying. I thought that could be something that I could go on and do outside of racing, and then obviously the valeting thing came along, and I grabbed that. So that's another thing that's there. It's time consuming enough, but at the same time, I can run it from a distance as well, kind of when it's going, you know.
Yeah. Just in terms, before we go to the interval here, we'll go in a couple of minutes and let everybody have a drink or go to the bathroom. JJ, what is going well on Irish racing and what could improve? Like, what do you think is flying at the moment? What not to use a Sean pun, or what could be better?
Sure, I suppose the quality of the horse in Ireland has never been stronger. Like, sure, that speaks for itself, really. But one time, all the best horses were being sold to England, where now all the big owners are coming to Ireland. You have your Shiva Lee Park, Simon Muir and Isaac Swade. They all have their best horses in Ireland, and the racing has never been stronger over here. So that's probably our strongest point. I suppose weak points. We need to get more people going racing. You go to a midweek meeting there's nobody there. Like, so I suppose they need to try and encourage people to get in the gates at the smaller meetings. You go to Leopardstown the weekend now, it'll be packed, all right, but day to day we need to get more people in, I think.
I'd be really worried about that, because I started to do more of those meetings, and it's not even midweek meetings. It can be Saturday meetings at big tracks, where it's either festivals nearly or nothing now. And I have a lot of sympathy, because I think the racing experience for people with lesser attention spans than ever before, who can get everything on the phone and get everything at home. But like, if the trainer, invariably now, a lot of the time the trainer won't come, and if you have a winner at the races and there's no one there, there's no atmosphere, it really does detract from the idea there should be some owners in the audience, and there isn't. And that aspect to me would be worrying. I totally agree with JJ on that.
We're 11.
There's no easy answer.
Yeah, we're 11 episodes into the racing pod, and we've a load of people here tonight. We're going to create a movement of people going to horse racing around Ireland. So we're going to create a movement of people. Sean, what could be better? What is working well? Would you agree with the lads?
I'd have to agree, yeah. It's Johnny just said it there. It's all too accessible from sitting at home, really, and it's great in ways, because obviously some people can't make it. But I don't really know how you would encourage more people to come. I do think that the student race days are a massive plus. They're the owners of the future, and was it Nace? Someone from a student race day sponsored someone that had been at a student race day, and obviously became successful in business, and then started sponsoring races. I think maybe owns a horse or two now, and that was solely because he went racing at a student race day and went from there. So maybe some more innovative ideas like that or something, but definitely needs more people.
Seen last year where I thought the Irish Grand National meeting, you could see all of the students who had been going to the student days during the year came of their own accord. You could really see them there. So I think they really are a success.
It just feels to me there are younger people. I know what you're saying during the week, Johnny. I think though at festivals there are a lot of younger people I think going racing now, and I do think racing's on the upward curve post-COVID of attendances. I think would reflect that. But I do agree with you. Like, unless it's say Leopardstown, Ferryhouse, Punchestown, Thyestes Day last week, the industry days are almost not seen as the thing to go to at all.
There's too much racing though, really, in my view. Like, there was a stretch there in sort of October, where there were like double meetings during the week, with nobody at them, and it's kind of like the Premier League now, in the sense that the actual crowd isn't that important anymore. It's all TV money. But in racing, this is a bit of a race to the bottom, in the sense that if there's nobody there more often than not, which is actually the case now, and the people there aren't paying in because they're part of the industry. Like, when I'm working, I'm genuinely hoping it's a 7-race card, not an 8-race card, because it drags the life out of you. And Willie will talk about it as well, the 35-minute gaps. It's something I'd be really worried about, because if I'd been going racing now, as opposed to when I started going racing 20 years ago, I would have been like, there's a better atmosphere at that League of Ireland First Division game. Like,
but Johnny, what you're saying, like, but the runners are there. It's not like in the UK where there's way too much racing and there's 3 and 4 runner races. We have full fields on those days, and there is 8 races because they can divide a race. So you can't not have the days racing.
I think it's a marketing thing, though. I think this weekend is going to be absolutely brilliant in Leopardstown. We're talking about it. We've had people coming here tonight, and I get the sense that for the big things, like I got to Punchestown last year, it's absolutely fantastic. Big screen, you got bands, you got everything going on. You got Leopardstown in the summer, you got bands after racing. I think psychologically people are either into their meeting or their festival or they're not. And I think there's a gap, a massive gap between the two. You're almost talking like two different sports here. And that'd be my kind of feeling about it. Look, we want your input into the night as well. We want your questions. We'll send a roving mic around before the end of the evening as well. But if you'd like to get your question in now, you can email us. We're going to set up an email account at theracingpod@offtheball.com. theracingpod@offtheball.com. And also, we're going to do a draw at the end of the night for that prize for the William Hill Champion Chase Day at the 2024 Punchestown Festival. 15 minutes, folks. Thanks for your attention so far. Have a drink, go to the bathroom. Back in 15.
The Racing Pod
On Off the Ball.
with William Hill. Best odds guaranteed on all Irish and UK racing. 18 plus. See gamblingcare.ie.